reconvene the meeting of the Board of Governors. Good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. It's great to see all the green out there. We have a number of wonderful announcements and recognitions to make as the first part of our agenda today. So we will begin with the recognition of Jan by the Foundation Board for the Foundation for Community Colleges. Is Keitha here? Oh, there she is. If Keitha can join us up front, we want to recognize the distinguished service of two people who've played an important role with the California Community College system. And while Keitha is getting ready, I'll just say a word about both of them. Jan DeHesh was the longtime president of the foundation, and Keitha will talk a little bit more about her service. But I know as a member of the Board of Governors, she's been an amazing partner to us as we set priorities and advance the system in times that were very challenging for community colleges, as you know. And I talked to my colleague, Scott Himmelstein, who served as president of the Board of Governors just yesterday, and he wanted me to pass along his sincere appreciation for the partnership he had with Jan and in the work they did together, and we all did together when Jan was leading the foundation during our student success task force efforts and others. And we couldn't have asked for a more enthusiastic, more committed, more just a great person that we were fortunate to have as part of our shared mission of advancing community colleges and opening opportunities for community college students. So I'm going to turn it over to Keitha, who will begin the recognitions.
Thank you, President Baum. So we have two members of the Foundation Board of Directors who are finishing their terms here recently, and we wanted to recognize their service, their volunteer service on the Foundation for California Community Colleges Board of Directors. I'm going to start with Gary Reed, and unfortunately Gary wasn't able to be here with us today. He's a bit under the weather, but I definitely wanted to express our appreciation for his service on our board. He has been the Board of Governors liaison to the Foundation for California Community Colleges Foundation Board for 6 years, and during that service he has been a really helpful member as it relates to our investments and our California Community Colleges Scholarship Endowment. So Member Reed joined the Foundation Board when we were just building that scholarship endowment, and we're now managing over $76 million in funding that then impacts all 112 colleges throughout the state. So please take a moment and join me in thanking Gary Reed for his service on the Foundation for California Community. So the second person I'd like to recognize who is with us here today, Jan DeHesh. And Jan, if you would join me at the front. So Jan has been on our board for 15 years. So she joined us when we were 2. We were just a baby. So Jan has seen us through our honorary teenage years and has really kind of seen it all, from a startup 2-year-old foundation to now a robust $20 to $30 million a year of support we bring in a year, over 100 employees. We're distributing 3,500 scholarships a year, benefiting thousands and thousands of students, from everything from scholarships to student internships to saving money on software and other educational tools. Jan has served in a number of leadership roles during her 15-year tenure on the board, but the most notable I would commend her on was in 2012, when she most recently served as board chair and did a really concerted effort of being here with the Board of Governors, bringing our two organizations together, and really showing that the foundation is here to support the mission of the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors, and we really are one big happy family. So with that, I'd like to thank Jan DeHesh for your years of service. Thank you, Jan.
One of our success stories. Yeah.
Jan isn't retiring. You would find nobody more committed to advancing opportunities for students than Jan is, and she's continuing her service. I don't know if you know, but she's continuing to raise funds and work actively at UC San Diego as a director of development, and so her work will continue. And please join me again in thanking Jan. Our next item is the item 4.5 on the agenda, and this is also a very special annual opportunity for us to recognize excellence in our individual districts. So I wanted to turn the program over to Pam and to tell us about our Hayward Awards program.
President Baum, members, Chancellor Harris. First of all, I'd like to have David Morris, the Faculty Senate President, our statewide faculty, join you at the front and in announcing the Hayward Awards. And I think we're going to let, I'd be remiss to say I shouldn't let David have the mic. So, and I'm honored to announce the Hayward Awards and have Dr. Morris give us a little more information about our outstanding faculty.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. So the Hayward Awards for Excellence in Education were established in 1989, are presented to as many as 4 honorees each year. This year we have 2 honorees, and we are very happy with the fact that this year both of our honorees are part-time faculty members. The awards are presented in partnership with the Community College Foundation and recognize excellence in teaching and contributions on a campus. So the first honoree is Douglas Dildine from Contra Costa College. Douglas is a professional actor who has been teaching part-time for the last 15 years, has also worked as a disability consultant, is a member of the Academic Senate's part-time caucus, is active with his local union, with the Faculty Association for California Community Colleges. So in addition to teaching, he's also served his department through program review processes and in other manners on his campus. So for his active participation, for his excellent teaching, and for his leadership, we'd like to ask Douglas to come forward, please.
Put you right in the bullseye.
Oh,
Your, what's it called? Your stage mark on
my
the floor?
stage mark on the floor.
Okay.
The second honoree is Medea Din from El Camino College. Medea invests a tremendous amount of energy in creating an environment that accommodates a wide range of learning styles. Her peer and student evaluations consistently praise her for her effective use of collaborative teaching, the integration of real-world examples with complex theories, her utilization of multimedia resources, and her development of a website and note-taking guides which support student learning outcomes. One of her students wrote, "What impressed me was the fact that she took time to know every single one of her students individually by learning their names, their major, and personal interests. I felt very involved in the class because she gave me the extra motivations to learn, and in turn I wanted to be involved just as much as she was." She has also worked as the faculty advisor for the Muslim Student Association at her college. So once again, for her excellence in teaching and for her contributions, we'd like to invite Medea Din forward, please. And Medea, Medea, don't go too far. We have one additional award for you this morning. We had a representative from Senator Ben Allen's office who has come forward who would also like to recognize you for your contributions and has left a certificate for you. And if we could get Douglas back for just a moment, I think they wanted one more picture of all of us.
We're going to all try to get between the flags. Bryce, maybe move down slightly.
Thank you.
This is a great day for our community college system, and we are not only get to recognize the volunteer service to our district and the outstanding instruction to our service, but we also have an opportunity to celebrate a true leadership effort by this administration, by individuals within the district. So with that, I want to go on to item 4.6 to make a special announcement and presentation about our guarantee program with the historically black colleges and universities. So I turn it over to the Chancellor.
President Baum, members of the board, this is an historic board meeting. Yesterday, you approved a significant transition in the life of California's community colleges by adding the bachelor's degree, and today we have the opportunity to sign an historic agreement benefiting our students up and down the state, providing them transfer opportunities that without this agreement they would not have. It's a long time in coming. A lot of people who will be acknowledged have worked very hard on this. It's a pleasure to turn this over to Vice Chancellor Denise Nolden, who will inform you along with her colleagues of what we're about to enter into. Denise?
Good morning, Board President Baum, members of the board, and Chancellor Harris. I'm honored to bring before you for your information the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Transfer Admission Guarantee Program. This program provides California community college students with another pathway to facilitate completion of their baccalaureate degree by providing for the efficient transfer of California community college coursework. This effort is important for a number of reasons, but I will highlight only a few. Historically black colleges and universities have a history and tradition of educating students of African descent, particularly at a time when no other options existed. They stand on a tradition of providing quality educational environments and experiences for college students. Currently, there are 105 HBCUs, and many of these institutions already play an instrumental role in extending educational access to California students. The admission guarantee will enable students to efficiently apply one program of study, the associate degree for transfer, to multiple institutions, as well as guaranteeing admission for students with 30 transferable units, thereby making the transfer process easily accessible. Historically black colleges and universities are very successful at providing a pathway to undergraduate training and post-baccalaureate educational opportunities by training the vast majority of doctors, dentists, faculty, and students who major in STEM disciplines. This effort will support a long tradition of students seeking affirmation of their history through positive social networks and familial environments that are conducive to their success and critical for creating opportunities for career advancement. Today, we congratulate the inaugural group of institutions who will sign the Memorandum of Understanding with the California Community Colleges: Bennett College, Dillard University, Fisk University, Lincoln University, Missouri, Philander Smith College, Stillman College, Talladega College, Tuskegee University, and Wiley College. I want to acknowledge those in the Chancellor's office who worked diligently on this initiative to ensure that I am able to bring this item before you today. Vice Chancellor Linda Michalowski, my predecessor, and specialist Bob Quinn, who worked on the Chancellor's office side. Now, I'd like to introduce Elaine Moore, the project director, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that this opportunity is available to California Community College students.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Nolan, for that introduction. We are grateful to the Chancellor's Office for having the foresight and vision to put forth a proposal that would lead to partnering the largest community college system in the nation with historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. This initiative is truly a dream come true. I know about the HBCU experience firsthand. In addition to myself, my grandmother was a product of an HBCU, as was my father, brother, husband, and 2 adult children. Therefore, I'm fully cognizant of the high expectation levels of the professors, the strong academic foundations that students receive, the nurturing that exists for the students, and the total foundation, the total community of supportive peers, faculty, and administrators. It thrills me to know that more students will have the HBCU experience. As a counselor, I have witnessed many students leave the community college system and matriculate at our great HBCUs, then move on to graduate programs at prestigious universities and soar academically. HBCUs have provided training for 3/4 of all black persons holding a doctorate degree, 3/4 of all black officers in the armed forces, and 4/5 of all black federal judges. HBCUs are leading institutions in awarding degrees to black students in life sciences, physical sciences, mathematics, and engineering. The goal of the agreement is to simplify the transfer process and to facilitate a smooth transition to targeted HBCUs for community college students. We want to shorten the time to bachelor degree attainment and, as a result, reduce the cost for students. Our objective was to attain agreements with 5 HBCUs willing to partner with California community colleges, but I am proud to say we have 9 HBCUs that have committed to this partnership. They will be introduced shortly. The Guaranteed Transfer MOU provides opportunities and pathways for students who earn a transfer associate's degree with a minimum 2.5 or higher grade point average. Students who meet this criteria will be guaranteed admissions at the junior level. Students with 30 or more California State or University of California transferable units and a 2.5 or higher grade point average will be guaranteed admission with full acceptance of the transferable units. The units will be utilized to meet general education requirements, major prerequisites, or elective units. Students admitted under the agreement will be provided with priority consideration for campus housing during their first year, scholarship consideration if the student has a 3.2 or higher grade point average, and pre-admission advising. We believe that educating students and counselors about this new initiative will help to make students aware of additional transfer options. Opportunities that will help to make President Barack Obama's 2020 goal to have the highest proportion of college graduates in the world. We are aware that things will not change overnight. This initiative will take time to execute, promote, and fine-tune. However, it is our hope that this HBCU Guarantee Agreement project will encourage other HBCUs to consider expanding their enrollment by reaching out to our outstanding California community college students. I would like to thank and recognize from the Chancellor's Office, Chancellor Bryce Harris, Vice Chancellor Denise Nolan, Jess Bono, Kimberly Cotillo for their strong support and backing of this initiative. I would also like to recognize Ms. Linda Michalowski, a retired Vice Chancellor, but a longtime supporter of HBCUs, and of course Bob Quinn, our great grant monitor. We're delighted to have here today to witness the signing several members of our HBCU Transfer Agreement Project Advisory Team, the Emotion Community Board members and students, and President Emeritus of LA Southwest College. It is now my special pleasure to bring forward and to introduce to you from Washington, D.C., Dr. George Cooper. Dr. Cooper was appointed by President Barack Obama in 2013 as the Executive Director for White House Initiatives on HBCUs. In his position, he provides coordinated help in strengthening HBCU access to federally funded programs that promote excellence, innovation, and sustainability at HBCUs. He has also served as the president of South Carolina State University and in faculty and administrative positions at Alabama A&M and Tuskegee Universities, all HBCUs. Dr. Cooper.
Good afternoon. Chancellor Harris and members of your board, I'm honored to be here with you today. Historically, there have been HBCUs existing for 175 years. These institutions exist in the 20 southern states, the District of Columbia, and the Virgin Islands, where students have traditionally been provided an opportunity for excellence education at these institutions. The opportunity that we have today really is to expand the leverage of involvement with HBCUs. I've been told that there are approximately 500 students from California who choose to attend HBCUs. That, I think, provides a great opportunity for opportunity to complete the baccalaureate degree. And the agreement that has been signed will have this opportunity to live among institutions. HBCUs that are represented are 11 institutions, and I believe 7 of these institutions live in 7 southern states that you must know about. Many of the people who are here today not only are administrators of HBCUs, but alumni who live here in California. That brings excitement for them to be citizens of the state who've encouraged sons and daughters to attend HBCUs. In the role that I play, I really support the wishes of President Barack Obama. The effort is to provide access and opportunity and graduation for these students. About 87% of the students who attend HBCUs now are African American students. The other students are non-African Americans. So most of these students are traditionally white students who leave all states to go to attend HBCUs. The agreement signed has merit because you have an agreement that says if students have an agreement, they complete courses, the courses will automatically transfer into HBCUs. And what you'll find about many HBCUs is they provide opportunities for graduate education after the baccalaureate degree is completed. Approximately 75% of those students who move on to graduate programs come from HBCUs. So they have a group of mentors and a commitment made by these institutions to prepare students to move on to complete their graduate degrees, which means that they move on and up into other careers that are important for these institutions. So as I work with these institutions, I want you to recognize that they've made a commitment. This commitment lives within their institutions. And because they've made this commitment, then I think it certifies that the relationship that you develop will sustain the relationship between HBCUs and the community colleges in California. So I commend you for that. I commend my colleagues for being here. And I think as a result of this may be a model that can be used by other states within the nation to look at meaningful relationships with HBCUs to provide access and opportunity for students who choose to attend these institutions. So thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you so much for what you've done to lead this agreement with my colleagues from HBCUs who are here today, the 11 of these institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the HBCU administrators who are here to partner with California Community Colleges and to sign the Transfer Guarantee Memorandum of Understanding. They will be introduced in alphabetical order. Let's please welcome Dr. Audrey Ward, Associate Provost from Bennett College. Bennett College is an all-women's institution located in Greensboro, North Carolina, known for creating leaders. Mr. Anthony Jones. Anthony Jones is the Vice President for Enrollment Management from Fisk University. Fisk University is located in Nashville, Tennessee, very close to Tennessee State and Meharry Medical College. And they have a strong agreement with Meharry Medical College as well. Mr. Jerome Offord. Mr. Offord is the Chief of Staff to the President of Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. There are actually 2 Lincoln Universities. The other one is in Pennsylvania. Dr. Roderick Smothers. Dr. Roderick Smothers is president of Philander Smith College. Philander Smith College is located in Little Rock, Arkansas, a place where there is rich civil rights history. Also, Mr. Damian Williams is here. He's the Vice President for Enrollment Management, and Dr. Hazel Irwin, Vice President for Academic Affairs, have also traveled out to view the signing. Dr. Peter Millett. Dr. Millett is the president of Stillman College. Stillman is located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And I found out at my last family reunion that I had a number of relatives who were graduates of Stillman College. Dr. Kevin Williams. Dr. Kevin Williams is the Vice President for Enrollment at Talladega College, and Talladega College is located in Talladega, Alabama. Dr. Cynthia Sellers. Dr. Sellers is Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment from Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama.
All right. Dr. Haywood Strickland.
Dr. Haywood Strickland is president of Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, home of the great debaters. Thank you all for traveling here today. Oh, yes. Dr. George Cooper will also be signing a memorandum of understanding.
Don't want to miss the guy who caused the party to happen.
That's true.
Now we'd like to get started.
We have some of our presidents in front. Yes, and if all the recipients would be
Six in the front, and we'll stand behind you.
but I'd like to lay in the middle.
Elaine. No, right on in the center there, Elaine.
Bryce, Arnaldo, can I steal your chair? I'm going to steal your chair.
Stephen, is this going to work for you to start out? Should I bring one more chair to the other side? Here's one right here. I've got one more right here.
She'll talk about and she's going to be mentioning it. So
So, Mr. Chancellor, there's some public comment on this agenda item, too. So if everybody can take their seat, we'll resume the meeting. We're not quite done yet with these items. We're going to take some board member comments and also some public comment.
Can I get your attention, please? Thank you.
We're not quite done with this agenda item yet. I know that there's a member of the public that wishes to address the board on this topic, and so I turn to our Vice President.
Good morning, members of the board. Chancellor Harris. My comments are really brief. Yesterday we had a significant event or a historical event for California in granting the baccalaureate degrees, but today's event, the transfer agreements with historically black colleges, truly is a national event, historical for us. And as a representative of the CEO board, I want to go on record that we enthusiastically support and have supported this effort. We see this as another great option for all of our students. And to our partner colleges, and Dr. Cooper, I want you to know that the CEOs are truly behind this effort. We see this as a great option, not only for our students, all of our students, but particularly our students of color. And thank you for this great agreement.
I want to invite any board members who wish to comment or ask a question about the program. Member Baca.
Well, you know, indeed, we feel that we've had many accomplishments over the recent years, but this one really is at the top of the list because it is one that is historic and one that addresses additionally our efforts to ensure that that our students, many of whom are black, Hispanic, and it plays into that whole idea of making sure that they achieve all that is possible in their lives. So this is just one of those things which is very historic. And I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank Dr. Cooper for being here and representing the White House. And a special thanks to Elaine Moore and Linda Makalowski and all of the individuals that worked to get this to happen. So congratulations to all of you and to us, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Member Belinsky.
I too want to thank all of those who've put in all of the hard work to make this happen today. This is really important, very important for our students. As an articulation officer, this is program articulation. It's a way of building pathways that are clear to the students so that they can have a variety of opportunities now to get their education. And what we are about is getting educated and having people educated in our society. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I wanted to say that those of you who made the journey to Sacramento, you actually honor us with your presence here, and you honor our students by making this available. And as I said, this is a leadership opportunity, and the leadership of Dr. Moore, Linda Mikulowski, and others. This is what you can do when you're passionate and committed to an idea and willing to spend a decade or more to make it a reality. And so we as board members are blessed by you giving us the opportunity to be present at this and be part of this opportunity to make this important step. And just as the rest of the board, yesterday we finalized the baccalaureate degrees, and today we finalized this agreement. It's a really special opportunity that we were here at this time to be part of and support these efforts and these leaders who are transforming our system every day. So I wanted to say thank you for making the journey, and I hope that we can reciprocate, and I'd love to come visit some of your institutions at some time in the near future and visit our students who will be there. So thank you very much. We're now going to resume our agenda. We did not get to one item yesterday on the agenda. That's item 4.3. It's a report on our task force on workforce, job creation, and a strong economy update. So I turn it over to the Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baca, members of the board. It's a pleasure to invite Vice Chancellor Tanya Quinn-Livin to give you an update on your task force, which has really done some miraculous things over the last few weeks. Vaughn, give the board an update, please.
Thank you very much, Chancellor, as well as President Baum and members of the board. All right, so we're going to make this quite fun, although not as fun as that. All right, so 18. 18 is the magic number. That is the difference between when we last gave a briefing to the board and today. And that is how many field conversations we have had and town halls we have had in order to give you today's update. And so I'm going to borrow from the Oscars and actually show you our progress in pictures. As you remember, you commissioned us to form a task force to recommend policies and procedures. Can you hear? Yeah, okay. I can't hear myself. It's so much fun in the back. All right, to consider strategies and recommend policies and practices that would prepare students for high-value jobs, position California's regions, create more jobs through working with small businesses, and finance these initiatives through a variety of resources, with the goal of increasing individual as well as regional competitiveness. The gap ahead of us is 1 million more middle skill credentials. This is the sub-baccalaureate, which is associates, degrees, certificates, and industry-valued credentials. Yes, the state needs more production of the bachelor's and above, but it also needs more middle skill credentials, which is the focus of this particular task force. And so, as you remember, the last time we presented, we laid out for you a 3-phase rollout, which included regional college and faculty conversations, followed by a set of strong workforce town hall meetings that would bring all of those focus group information into the task force meetings for deliberation so that they can bring you a set of recommendations in September of this year. And so we've had 14 regional college and faculty conversations. This is the internal system having its deliberation with 3 questions that were professionally facilitated and consistently facilitated. And they focus on the questions of, 1, how do we dramatically increase the number of students who earn quality industry-valued credentials? 2, how do we ensure that community colleges work better and in a more timely manner with industry? And 3, how do we make funding for workforce programs and structured CT pathways more sustainable, especially during budget downturns? So all of these forums ask the same 3 consistent questions. And I wanted to share with you just some of the hard work the field has been doing to take up the deliberations. They took your requests to surface ideas, to surface recommendations, and to surface promising practices on the ground very seriously. So you can see here example of the South Central region and all of the colleges in that region in action. Here's the North Far North having come together, all of the colleges with CEO, CIO, CASSO, CTE deans, faculty, local faculty leadership, coming together having conversations, Bay Area in conversations. Altogether, roughly 735 people participated across the 14 regional college and faculty conversations. And I want to thank the Academic Senate for hosting 3 of them so that we could make sure that the ideas that were being surfaced resonated as well with faculty. And here's a picture of the Central Valley region. So they worked very hard, not only to surface their own ideas, but really how do you build upon each other's ideas? And then they had to pitch their ideas with the rest of the mixed crowd in order to identify which ones they wanted to prioritize and bring forward to the task force for deliberation. Then what we did was took those same questions and really just slightly rephrased it for an external audience, bringing together external constituencies who depended on our system for workforce training. And these were the 5 strong workforce town halls. They were sponsored by JP Morgan Chase, who came forth with philanthropic support to make sure that we could hear from the external stakeholders, and our thanks to the foundation for their help on that. And we asked the same 3 questions, but in a slightly different way. It was, how do we deepen working relationships with employers and industry to close the skills gap? How do we provide sufficient funding for CTE programs needed in state and regional labor markets? And how do we provide employers and employees with more timely and relevant education and training? Again, I want to thank all of these strong workforce champions who came together to co-host these events, ranging from the Silicon Valley Leadership Group to the California Manufacturers Association to SEIU, UHW, San Joaquin Valley Partnership, California Business Roundtable. So these are really just stellar organizations who care deeply about California. And some pictures. If you thought the internal audience was impressive, these pictures tell an even more important story, an equally important story about how important the community college system is. In Central Valley, 130 people turn out to give us feedback on these questions, mostly employers. And here in Sacramento, I believe Member Baca and Member Van Loon were able to join us just yesterday, so I imported the picture. And Member Avalos was able to join us in Silicon Valley. So, and then of course, Los Angeles, it became almost the equivalent of a rock concert. People were being turned away. And we had standing room only at about 140 in the audience. So wonderful feedback. And what they collectively told us were that the issues and the themes were categorized in roughly 5 areas: workforce data and outcome, curriculum and instructors, structured pathways and student support, funding, and regional coordination. So what we've done is taken these 5 categories, and now we've structured the task force deliberation along these 5 categories. And so I believe the Chancellor has already introduced to you, but the lead of the task force is comprised of 3 individuals. One is Sunny Cook, is the CEO from one of our districts. Lynn Shaw is a faculty, Long Beach City College full-time faculty union member, and Tim Rainey is executive director of the California Workforce Investment Board. So they, as the leadership team, will be taking up these issues with the task force. And if you remember, we have a 26-member task force that was appointed by the Chancellor with consideration for all your advice that you had given us in the prior meetings about who needs to come to the table and how to keep the group manageable. So you have their official titles in your board packet, but what you see there is the first column are a set of CEOs to make sure that we represent the institutions. We have faculty representation from the CTE area, the general education area, the basic skills area, and the faculty counselor area. We also have the various leadership positions within campuses, such as the Chief Instructional Officer, Chief Student Services Officer, Chief Business Officer, CTE Dean. We have a veteran student, a terrific one, and trustee. So in terms of internal representation, we have the representative constituents at the table, just like they were at the table and in the regional college conversations. And then in terms of bringing in the external voice, just like in the town halls, we have Tim Rainey from the California Workforce Investment Board, Patricia DeCoste from the K-12 Board of Education. She's deputy director there. In the second column, you see a set of business constituents ranging from the California Chamber of Commerce to the manufacturers, the hospital, and the financial sectors. And then in the last two columns, you have representations from the labor community, cities and counties, regional and economic development entities, as well as ACLU, the Young Invincible, which represents the youth advocacy voice, as well as the California Edge Coalition, which represents workforce policy advocacy. So they collectively, we think they have a very rich, robust set of knowledge to bring forth, to have a comprehensive deliberation, and it will be their work to take up the issues that have surfaced between the regional college conversations, the faculty conversations, and the town halls, so that they can bring to you a set of recommendations in September. And that's where I would like to leave it, and hopefully what you see from this is that you have a set of very credible people coming together to really wrestle with difficult issues, but that the process so far has been very inclusive and has attempted to reach out and stimulate the conversation both externally and internally. And we will keep everybody apprised via this URL on the website.
Thank you. So before we go to board member questions or comments, I'd like to see if there's any public comment.
Yeah, we have one, Julie Bruno from the Academic Senate.
Good morning.
Good morning.
President Baum, members of the board, Chancellor Harris, thank you so much for providing me an opportunity. I would just like to give a few brief comments on the workforce so far. On behalf of the Academic Senate and the faculty, I would very much like to thank Chancellor Harris for including a faculty co-chair in the leadership. It's a wonderful group of leaders. They have been working really well together, and we've appreciated having our faculty voice represented in that way. The task force is, the membership is an impressive diversity of perspectives and expertise that will serve us very well as we move forward with this work, and I am honored by the opportunity to serve on that task force. Over the past few months, there have been the college conversations, as Vice Chancellor Tom Quinlivan was sharing with you earlier. When the college conversations began, the Academic Senate was a little concerned just because the scheduling of the conversations were during prime teaching time, so we weren't sure how many faculty we were going to be able to get to those meetings. And so as a result, we proposed that the Senate host the 3 additional faculty conversations. And we were pleased that we got support from the Chancellor's Office to do that, and they've been a wonderful partner. This past Friday was the last one that we held at Clovis College, soon to be our 113th college, and Member Van Loon was able to stop by and listen to some of the discussion and actually have lunch with us, so that was really very much a pleasure to have him attend. The Senate would like to thank Vice Chancellor Tom Quinlivan and the Chancellor's Office for supporting these very important faculty regional meetings to enrich the task force deliberations in the months to come. In the past couple of weeks, I think it's only been a couple of weeks that we've been doing this, I have had a wonderful experience in talking with CTE faculty from across the state of California, and I can tell you that they are just so impressed with the work that the task force is undertaking, and they're very excited in the possibility for change, and change for the better to really help improve their programs, to improve their programs for students' sake, for their educational goals, and to create really nice, strong connections with industry and the workforce to ensure that as we move forward in the future, we will be doing what's best for our students and for the California economy and workforce. So they're really excited to be part of that conversation. I want to thank you for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to open it up to see if any of the board members have a question or comment about the process as it is standing today.
I do have a comment.
Yeah, Member Avalos.
Vice Chancellor, thank you very much for your presentation. Very effective, obviously. And I did attend one of the events there in Silicon Valley, as you mentioned. And two key takeaways from that event. One was, at its basic skill, what people are looking for from an employer perspective is professional and employment skills for our students. Right. One of the things that we don't really think about, we think about, we're in the business of educating, but I would say we're in the business of finding employment for our students. And so, as part of that, we need to have students that understand what it takes to show up the first day of work and to actually work. And it feels like we don't have that perspective. Employers really want us to have that perspective in the community colleges. So, my voice is, what can we do to really help our students have the self-confidence so that we have internships, they're there and present, right? And so that was one of the feedback that I received while I was there at the meeting at the Silicon Valley, so I want to bring that to the board. And secondly, the other thing that was, I think, an aha moment, we talk about there's 1 million jobs, middle-skilled jobs out there available, but yet, there's no place to put this on a board, a job site. Right, we have LinkedIn, which is very for 4-year degree, professional degree type folks, but there's nothing in a job online board that can really help our students find placements, right? And so that was something that came out that was pretty important as part of that conversation. That I think again we can try to figure out as a board, how do we facilitate job placement for these students and these 1 million jobs that are out there for our students. So that's my feedback.
Very helpful insight. Member Baca.
Yeah, I have to chime in that very much is a need there. The training of students to be able to find jobs, not simply the technical part of the area that they're studying, but also how is it that you go about on your first day at work? What is that like? And I think the importance of internships and apprenticeships cannot be understated. The degree that we are able to do them effectively, of course, is a labor-intensive monetary kind of question, but I think there's plenty of opportunities to be able to do that without really getting into an intensive type of program. The experience that the Chancellor and I had on the Student Success Task Force probably might lend a little bit to here, and I'm not sure exactly how the process has been going in terms of the committee itself, but you do in fact have a committee that's fairly good size, but it is a very talented committee, in many ways very diverse in that way. One of the challenges that we ran into early on is simply getting those people to engage with each other more so. And I think it's very important to, if that isn't already happening, and even if it is, to intensify that so that some product can come out of it and the ideas that they have can materialize into something that we can really put our teeth into. But, this is another one of those pieces. Soon after we completed the Student Success Task Force work and put the recommendations, one of the things that some of us, if not all of us, were hit with is, why didn't you deal with career tech? Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't really the focus of it, but the Chancellor recognized that was the next thing that had to happen, and under his leadership we've done a great number of things and followed through on them very successfully, and we'll continue to do that. This is one of those important areas. So, congratulations on the work thus far, and I wish you the best. I look forward, as all my colleagues here on the board do, to the report of the task force.
Member Van Loon, and then Vice President Estolano.
Yes. First off, I'm thoroughly impressed at all the collaboration that's been occurring, and especially the things that have been coming up. They're all very similar from region to region. I've seen the Sacramento conversation yesterday, as well as some of the conversations in the Central Valley, and everyone's seemingly bringing up similar topics. So that's definitely encouraging that everyone's running into the similar barriers so we can tackle those in particular. Some of the things that one in particular that has stood out to me is the issue of the image of CTE programs and the importance of not only our collaboration with businesses, but also the K-12 system. We were talking about yesterday how we need to be instilling a belief in third grade mothers that maybe getting a 4-year degree isn't the best thing. If you look at job turnover and the rates of obtaining a job right after getting just a normal degree, and I speak from experience, as a philosophy major currently, you're not getting hired very quickly. Whereas in our CTE programs, you're getting a great job immediately. You look at some of the rates of hire. For instance, the Power Pathways program in Fresno through Fresno City, a 95% hire rate. You can't get much better than that. It's with a great company with great salary and great benefits. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest things we tackle is this problem of the image. And so we're really going to have to immerse ourselves into the K-12 system, get a lot of our businesses advocating and involved as well, showing these young students and young mothers and fathers that this is a valuable route to go, and it's fulfilling. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or something of that sort to make a difference in this world. And there are a wide area of interests with CTE programs too that it could accommodate to things similar to like philosophy or something like that. That are in the workforce sector, and you can get a CTE program degree for that. So that's something that stood out to me. One, we're going to really have to work with the K-12, and I'm glad to see that there's a number of bills on the table right now regarding concurrent enrollment. I know AB 288 is one. So I'm glad to see, in conjunction with our work here, we're advocating for things legislatively that could help us with that. Another thing that stood out to me was the disincentive to teach CTE programs. A lot of the people in the industry, why would you come from the industry to go teach at a community college, as well as the burden that a lot of the industry leaders and the companies have to take to provide some of these professors. I heard yesterday that they cover health benefits and a number of other things that our community colleges aren't necessarily helping out to a huge degree with. So that concerns me as well. We obviously want the best qualified people teaching these programs from the industry, and we need to incentivize that. So those were my two primary comments. But again, I'm very glad to see that there are very similar concerns across California at this point, so we can have a laser-like focus as we get further into the process with the task force.
Member Vice President Estolano?
Yeah, I attended the Los Angeles Town Hall. It was a really well-run event, and yeah, standing room only. It was really impressive. I want to also add sort of my key takeaways. Well, first, we had terrific industry participation. There was just a good number of employers, folks who were looking for good, talented workers, and I was impressed by that. I think your staff did a wonderful job getting the right people in the room. A couple of big takeaways were that folks need help, interview skills, resume skills, sort of the basics, like Board Member Avalos talked about how to get a job and the importance. I think Larry Frank actually kind of summed this up, saying the ultimate test of a CTE program is if they can place grads in jobs. That faculty need to look at themselves not just as faculty, but as job developers in a sense in the CTE program. So it's very interesting to have that perspective. And then have industry members stand up and talk about how they are looking for folks who have critical thinking skills, and the importance of integrating that into the CTE curriculum, right? That having a curriculum that teaches you the basic skills but in an applied way. So the takeaways that I have from this is that we really do need to look at maybe measuring success in the CTE programs a little bit differently. How do we define a completion? Is maybe job placement rather than a certificate. We kept hearing about how folks get a little bit of training in some of these programs and they get snatched up by employers. That doesn't count as a completion. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in a sense, the college gets dinged for that, yet they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be, is getting their folks into these jobs. So I really look forward to the conclusions that come out of the task force. I enjoyed the conversation and an opportunity to meet faculty, to meet industry leaders, and I'm going to continue the conversation on my own. So I just want to commend you, Vice Chancellor. I think they're going very well, and at breakneck pace. So it's great to hear from Julie that faculty feels really engaged, and want to thank the Academic Senate for hosting 3 sessions. That's so important. So I just want to commend you, and I look forward to September.
Thank you. I just had 2 questions then about our process going forward. One of the things that I think was successful with the Student Success Task Force is once the committee has, the task force has gelled into a set of recommendations, we actually had a retreat where we were briefed in more detail about each individual finding. Is that in the works? And then once the findings were presented to the Board of Governors, we actually held a public meeting that invited participation to, as we were considering before we took on final adoption. It wasn't a regular Board of Governors meeting. It was a meeting in the field. It was in San Diego, if you recall, to take public feedback also on the Student Success Task Force recommendations. And so is that in the a possibility for this process? The retreat and then a public meeting that would be independent.
Yes, I think both those things are not only possible but advisable. We have tried to look at the possibility of scheduling not 1 but 2 sort of statewide last looks before we bring those recommendations forward to you after consultation and before they come to you. And so those would be, I think, great opportunities to literally have Board of Governor members attend 1 or both of those. And then the retreat concept on the recommendations, I think, is certainly doable.
Sure. We did that at Butte College. I don't know if you recall that. And Amy Supinger kind of gave us an opportunity to go drill down into individual recommendations and what was behind it. And I thought that was very helpful.
Good.
Too.
Can I ask just one more question here? You know, there was a statement made yesterday about very small businesses not being quite involved in, and there was one small business manufacturer who was present. Is there some additional work that you plan to do with regard to that, you know?
We're going to talk to the employment training panel who's working with us on a strategy with small businesses, and we'd like to do some focus groups with small business.
Yeah, because the statement is made that, you know, these small businesses employ a great number of people, yet they don't manage to attend these because obviously they're working. They don't have anyone that they can send out there. So,
yeah,
but it's just something that stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, remember one of the 4 goals of your task force is focused on small business. So we really do have to answer that question that you're asking.
I'd like to make a statement on that. As a small business owner, you're absolutely right. I'm looking for 1 or 2 people, right? Mm-hmm. And where do I go? I go to Craigslist right now. And I have to surf through millions of applicants that aren't really relevant. So to me, again, if there was a job placement board that were for small businesses that were maybe for service industry, I would immediately go there, especially in Sacramento, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for, where we can provide, you know, small businesses to, Member Baca's point, they don't have the time to go to these events and things like that. So make it easy on them to find employable spokes that come out of our community colleges.
And Member Van Loon?
Yeah, a quick additional question. So let's just say, for example, welding. How different is the curricula across the board in California? So let's just say we have a welding program in the Central Valley and one in Sacramento. From what I heard yesterday, those oftentimes aren't similar. They're different programs, and so employers across the state aren't getting the same applicants from our CTE programs, or they can't expect the similar traits from each program. How much truth is in that?
So that feedback has come up consistently, which is that there's such variability in the name of these programs, and some programs have 16 units, some have 60 units. And so if the program is pegged to an industry certificate or industry credential, is there the ability to have some portability in that curriculum so that there's consistency for the employers when they hire from our programs, they know that they're getting a certain set of skills.
Okay, yeah, that's
so
one
it has come up many times.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. I appreciate that, and I appreciate this timely update and look forward to hearing more at our next meeting. Now we're delighted to again welcome our friends and colleagues from the Foundation for California Community Colleges for an update. And it was a pleasure to be with you last night as well.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. Yeah, it was terrific to host you all last night at dinner and get to know you. It's always fun to have the entire family together, so we appreciate everyone being there and getting to know each other. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about specifically how the foundation works to support the system office priorities. So Board of Governors, system office, and the system as a whole. And really this conversation is a precursor to the master agreement that we have between our two organizations that we're in the process of amending and renewing, and that will be coming to you at a future board meeting for approval. So this is kind of a precursor conversation to how the foundation works to meet the terms of that master agreement and support your initiatives. So it all began back in 1998. 17 short years ago, we were established to serve as the official auxiliary nonprofit to the California Community Colleges Board of Governors and Chancellor's Office. And that formation was made possible by the Ed Code. We're written into the Ed Code. So the Ed Code made us possible. And then as we were formed, we entered into this master agreement between our two organizations to better define kind of what our purpose is and how we will operate. And this is an excerpt from the master agreement. The master agreement itself is a 5 to 6 page document, fairly detailed. But I pulled this particular paragraph out, and I want to just highlight, kind of to me the key terms. Really, we were formed to receive and dispense funds in a manner that promotes the general welfare of the board or the chancellor's office and advances the mission of the California Community College system. So really, in broad terms, that's why we're here. That's our purpose. So we were formed as a separate 501c3. We are an auxiliary nonprofit to the Chancellor's Office, but we do have a separate 9-member board who you met most of those last night. I think a few of us are in the audience today here in the front row. We have our board meeting this afternoon. We meet once a quarter. So we're formed with a separate 9-member board, 2 of which are members of the Board of Governors. So in forming the foundation and kind of taking this 6-7 page master agreement document and defining who we are and what we do, we've succinctly defined our mission and our vision statement as our mission is to benefit, support, and enhance the missions of the California Community Colleges. And our vision is to be the trusted partner of the California Community Colleges, facilitating collaboration, accelerating innovation, and increasing system-wide resources. And we really strive to do work that really the State Chancellor's Office just cannot do because of lack of funding, lack of resources, lack of staffing. So we try to bring a sense of nimbleness to the work that's happening at the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors. So how do we support the system? I would describe our support to the system in really 3 broad categories. So number 1, we provide direct financial support to the Chancellor's Office. Number 2, we attract outside financial support to accelerate broad system initiatives. And then number 3, we also operate our own aligned programs and services that are both complementary to and that work collaboratively with our Chancellor's Office programs and services. So I'm going to give you an example of each of those. What does that mean? So number of ways we provide direct financial support to the Chancellor's Office. A couple of photos here. The first one is the Rice Awards, the Diversity Awards. This past year we had Condoleezza Rice in attendance. We hosted a number of folks from the community and college leadership highlighting programs that showcase diversity in our community colleges. The second photo is the Veterans Summit, another event that we've held for the last 3 years in December, where we bring together college leadership and college administrators from throughout the state to share best practices about how they're serving their veterans throughout the state. And the third picture is really our most recent event that we've hosted, and those were the legislative visits that just happened in Washington, D.C. And you can see that's us there with Congressman Lowenthal and Member Belansky joined us for that visit, and Member Baum, President Baum is also in that photo. And there were a number of other folks, of course, Chancellor Harris, Vince Stewart, and a number of other college leaders from throughout the state. And really, all of these events are so strategically important to the Chancellor's Office activities, and they're not included in the budget and really would not be possible without the outside support from the foundation. So this financial support is really important. So the second example I gave was attracting outside financial support to accelerate broad system priorities, and I'll talk about a couple of examples of those. You heard me talk this morning about scholarships. We're providing about 3,500 scholarships every year that supports all 112 colleges throughout the state, and that's through the California Community Colleges Scholarship Endowment. That's a statewide endowment that's managed through the Foundation for California Community Colleges. The Student Success Initiative, this is probably an initiative you've heard me talk the most about. We helped bring in outside support to fund the task force, and then we also brought in outside support to fund programs that helped accelerate the implementation of the task force recommendations. You heard me talk about the Step Forward Priorities Project, I believe, at the last meeting. We've also recently established the Success Center for California Community Colleges. That's through generous funding from the Kresge Foundation, and again, helping to continue to further implementation of the student success recommendations. And most recently, we've begun to support the workforce development initiatives that we just heard Vice Chancellor Von Quinlivan speak of. And we were very pleased to facilitate a donation from J.P. Morgan Chase that is helping to support the town hall meetings that are happening throughout the state. So the third prong that I talked about was operating aligned programs and services that are complementary to and work collaboratively with Chancellor's Office programs and services. And there are two programs that I would highlight in this category, and they both of these programs work very collaboratively with the Student Services Division of the Chancellor's Office. One supports foster youth initiatives, and the other supports student mental health programs. Again, these are initiatives that are led out of the Chancellor's Office that have a certain level of resources available to them. We've helped bring in outside resources that help accelerate those initiatives and make that money stretch further for our students. So we're really proud of these two programs and all of the work that we do to help accelerate the work of our colleagues and vice chancellors in the Chancellor's Office. So how do we fund these activities? I've talked a little bit about kind of what we do and have given you some examples of how we work to support the system. How do we fund this? I think it's really important to note that we receive no direct state or public support. We're not a line item in any state budget, so we have to work and compete for every dollar that comes into the foundation. So we're about 17 years old. I describe us as kind of this honorary teenager. We're starting to grow up. We've grown into this robust organization. We've got over 100 employees and about $20 million of annual revenue, and it's been as high as $30 to $35 million, depending on how the grants and contracts are ebbing and flowing over time. So all of that money we fight to bring into California to help support our initiatives. The other thing that's really important for us to note is that we have to be really careful that we don't compete with our local college foundations. That is really, really important. So our local college foundations, they are in their communities. They're doing the one-on-one fundraising. They're doing a lot of corporate sponsorships at their local level. It would not be productive for us to come in and try to cannibalize what's happening. So we'd be really careful to look for those funding streams where individuals or corporations or funders want to make an impact in California, but they either don't know how to navigate the system or they don't want to navigate the system, but they want to make an impact. So we help be that hub and that bridge so folks who want to invest in California can come to one place and say, this is what I want to do, this is the area or the region or statewide, how I want to impact. Can you help me match up my dollars with the folks at the local level that are doing that work? And that's really important. So I'm going to kind of highlight 3 ways that we bring money into the system. One is through what I would describe as entrepreneurial programs and services. 2 is through competitive state and federal grants and contracts. So I talked about we're not a line item in anybody's budget, but we are allowed to compete for state and federal grants and contracts. And then, of course, philanthropic partnerships that don't compete at the local level. So real quick, a couple of examples. What do we mean, entrepreneurial programs and services? A couple of examples of this type of activity are our College Buys programs and our Career Pathway program. Our College Buys program is an aggregate purchasing program where we basically are able to take advantage of the purchasing power of the system as a whole. We work to enter into public contract code compliant contracts where the colleges can piggyback on our contracts. So the service is really valuable to the colleges. So rather than all 72 districts having to go out and do an RFP for tables and furniture and other common items that we're all raising bond money for or doing improvements for, so rather than all 72 districts having to go through that process, we go through that process at the statewide level and make that contract available for our colleges to piggyback on. We were able to drive down prices. So it's not just, LA district is a huge district, but when you combine LA district with Los Rios district with the, 70 other districts throughout the state, that buying power really multiplies fast. We're also able to structure contracts that really meet the needs of our California community colleges, and that's really important. Our Career Pathway Internship Service is another great kind of entrepreneurial program where we work to facilitate student internships with employers. So what we find is that a number of employers are willing to provide student internships, but they don't necessarily want to navigate the back office, the payrolling, the risk management, the timekeeping, the making sure that they're following whatever the rules are for their college credit. So basically, we become the employer of record for these students and partner with employers who will provide the internship services. The employer pays for the student payroll, and then of course a small fee to cover our costs for that facilitation. So both of those programs have really been with us almost since inception, and we have saved millions of dollars for our colleges, students, and faculty and staff, and employed thousands of students since inception in important internship opportunities. So I mentioned competitive state and federal grants and contracts is another way that we bring funding into the system. This funding is a bit more restricted, but it's still a very important way that we bring support in. 2 programs that I'll highlight here: the Bureau of Automotive Repair and the California Mental Health Services Authority. You guys, I think, have heard me talk about our partnership with the Bureau of Automotive Repair. Again, has been with us almost since our inception. It's a wonderful program. We partner with 30 community colleges throughout the state, rent space from them in their automotive programs where we set up a state referee station. So it's fantastic for the colleges. The colleges get revenue. We make a donation to use the space. They bring in people from the outside, from the public that may not have otherwise been exposed to the college. There's a licensed smog technician that is there staffing that facility, who's also providing paid student internships for their automotive students. So we've trained, again, hundreds of students through this program funded by the Bureau of Automotive Repair in partnership with colleges from throughout the state. I mentioned our student mental health program that we operate collaboratively with the Chancellor's Office. This one is funded by a state contract with the California Mental Health Services Authority. So again, a great example of a service that the Chancellor's Office is providing where we can help bring in outside funding from another state agency in a way that's nimble and helps accelerate work that is already happening. And finally, philanthropic partnerships. And I would say this is probably it's the third leg of our stool. And the first one here is corporate sponsorships, which I'll talk a little bit about. And then really the bigger piece of this is our partnership with regional, statewide, and national funders. So corporate sponsorships, we don't do a lot of corporate sponsorships because they do tend to compete with what's happening at the local level. But we do very proudly sponsor the statewide Chancellor Circle, where the Chancellor travels throughout the state and visits campuses, and we're able to to attract corporate funding for that. And then I think, kind of our bigger role in this area is our relationships with these regional, statewide, and national funders. The Bernard Osher Foundation made the lead gift for the Scholarship Endowment. The Lumina Foundation made the lead gift for the Student Success Initiative. Kresge has been the lead funder on Student Success. And now we're partnered with JP Morgan, who has been our lead funder with our Workforce Development Initiative. So these partnerships are really important. So I'll conclude with a couple of points. As you've heard, I've given examples of a number of things that we do. So it can be quite confusing about, wait a minute, what do you do? Do you provide smog checks? Do you do internships? Do you do, scholarships? And the answer is yes. And so, in 2012, we kind of gathered together and said, we need something to be our flagship initiative. So when people say, what do you do and what are you focused on, we can say, we are focused on this right now. So between 2011 and 2014, Student Success was our flagship fundraising effort, and we've raised over $5 million in support of that initiative. So this year, in alignment with the Task Force on Workforce, Job Creation, and a Strong Economy, we've named Workforce Development as our newest targeted flagship fundraising initiative, and very proud to partner with JP Morgan Chase for those initial investments, and really looking forward to the work that's coming out of the task force to see how we can mirror the work that we did related to student success and accelerate the recommendations, the implementation of the recommendations that will come out of that task force. So finally, I mentioned this earlier, we're about 17 years old. We've grown to provide over $200 million in direct support grants and cost savings to our students and colleges, and we've contributed over $3 million in direct support directly to the Chancellor's Office and Board of Governors initiatives. And as we enter into our third decade, we're very excited about what the future has to come and continuing to support your great work. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for this overview, and thank you again for the efforts. I want to open it to board member comments or questions. Member Kaur?
Yes, I had a question on how your scholarships work. Do you provide them to specific colleges, a certain amount, or is it directly to students?
Yeah, so we manage a statewide scholarship fund where we make distributions directly to the colleges. So all 112 colleges will receive scholarship distributions, and all of them receive at least 5, but many of them receive hundreds of, some of them probably hundreds of scholarships through this fund. And then the college is responsible for getting the word out and marketing those scholarships to their students. They do have certain rules about a minimum number of hours, a GPA, and that sort of thing, and all of that is administered at the local level.
Okay, because so I read that only 90 schools actually contribute to fundraising for the scholarships also that you provide, and so the other schools that don't contribute, they also get a proportion. How is that proportion?
Yeah, they do. So when the Osher Foundation set up their contribution, they made an initial $25 million gift. And they said, with that $25 million gift, we want to support all 112 colleges.
Okay.
So we divided up distributions based on FTES, with a minimum of at least 5 scholarships going to every college. So every college gets a distribution from that part of the fund. The second part of the contribution was a matching campaign. So the Osher Foundation matched 50 cents on every dollar that the colleges raised. So as colleges raised money and they sent money into the statewide endowment, that grew the endowment. So the majority of our colleges did fundraise and receive distributions from both of those funds. But even the colleges who weren't able to fundraise still receive at least 5 scholarship distributions through that initial contribution.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Member Epstein.
And thanks again for all the great work you do. And I was just wondering, is there something that you'd like to do that you think is a great opportunity that you're not doing now? And how can individual board members help the foundation do its work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to answer that in 2 different ways as 2 questions. So the thing that I was hearing around the table today that I'm really excited about is the work that's happening in workforce development and this idea of a job board. So one of the things that we've done very successfully over our last 17 years is embark on technology projects that help support the system as a whole, especially as it relates to student internships. So we've recently, through the generous funding of J.P. Morgan, we recently went live with a technology tool called Launchpath that is a matching platform for student internships. So it's a matching and badging where students will input their profile, employers input their profile, and we help find the best match for internship opportunities. I can absolutely see that investment growing into this job board idea where we become kind of the statewide job board for these middle skilled and maybe small businesses. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity that would love to stay engaged in. I think, thank you for asking the question of how could board members help, because if I look at, kind of the major wins that we've had throughout our lifespan, most of those wins have come from introductions from right around this table and right around the table right behind you. So it's all about relationships, and it's all about who you know and helping make those connections. And for us, we do a great job at making the sale and bringing it across the finish line. But what's helpful for us is to have that introduction to help get the foot in the door. So that's really a very meaningful way that you as board members can help us do our work.
I do have
yes, Member Avalos.
Thank you. Thank you once again for your presentation. Do you all have an endowment?
We do. So I talked about the scholarship endowment. It's a $76 million endowment that is permanently restricted, and distributions are made throughout the state in the form of student scholarships to the colleges. In addition to that, we have a nursing endowment as well. It's not permanently restricted, but it is a restricted fund that helps fund nursing initiatives throughout the state as well. That one is about between 10 and 15 million as well. So we've got almost $100 million of investments at the statewide level.
But in a certain sense, you're not raising every year to cover your costs.
We're
right?
not.
I'm assuming you have some sort of money that's being generated or has some sort of investment opportunity that's paying for your annual operating costs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do not have, we aspire to have an operating endowment, and we've been growing our reserve base every year. So you heard me talk about that every dollar that comes in, we have to go fight for, and then it's also really important that we not compete with what's happening at the local level. So the traditional fundraising is not something that we typically do. So what that means is that we have to operate really, really lean in the programs and services that we offer so that we can continue to kind of put away our 2 to 3 to 5% every year as our nest egg. Over the past 4 to 5 years, we've grown our unrestricted reserves to almost $3 million. So it's still pretty lean, but it's more than doubled in the last several years, and something that we're very much focused on.
Of your annual budget of $20 million, how much is operating expenses?
Yeah, so about 10 cents of every dollar goes towards administration, which means about 90 cents of every dollar goes directly into programs and services.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that report, and we're very fortunate to have your leadership and then the volunteer service of your board. So we're grateful to continue that partnership.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 4.8 on the agenda. Vice Chancellor Stewart will deliver a state and federal legislative update.
Good morning. President Baum, members of the board, Chancellor Harris. Would like to start with the state legislative update, and I will be relatively brief since we're fairly early on in the legislative process. The deadline actually to introduce legislation for the first year of this two-year session was February the 27th, and there was a flurry of introductions leading up to that deadline. In fact, there were more bills introduced after we printed your March agenda than before, so we were going through quite a backlog, which is in part why we distributed to you, I don't know if it was yesterday or this morning, an updated bill matrix and an updated summary sheet of bills. This is just a really snapshot of some of the more key pieces of legislation, and they will need to be further analyzed, and we'll provide you additional information at future meetings. But just in terms of some of the numbers, in terms of what we're looking at now, there were over 1,500 bills introduced in the Assembly and nearly 800 introduced in the Senate. So we are moving through those to determine which will have an impact on the community colleges. And we're also asking each of the divisions within the Chancellor's office to take a look at those bills to provide an analysis, and that analysis will be the basis for a recommendation. If I can transition now to our sponsored legislation, and I know it was mentioned previously, this is Assembly Bill AB 288 by Assemblymember Chris Holden, and this deals with dual enrollment. And I think this speaks to the issue of Board Member Van Loon, the comment that he made earlier with respect to the work that we're doing around career technical education and how do we get a deeper penetration, if you will, in terms of partnering with K-12 school districts. Really, the purpose of this bill is to provide some added flexibility around dual enrollment. And dual enrollment is when you have a high school student who is enrolled in a community college and is taking coursework from community college faculty. So if we can do that, particularly around career technical education courses and also around college and career readiness, I think you all have heard the Chancellor and others speak to the issue of the remediation that we have to deal with, particularly when students need to be remediated in math and English or both. Their success rates at the community colleges are certainly not what they need to be. So dual enrollment really can be a very effective strategy in terms of getting to high school students, particularly in the 11th grade, and seeing if we can work better with the K-12 districts to get them where they need to be to do college-level work when they graduate. I think the timing of this legislation is especially critical because we're just now moving into a new testing system in K-12 with the Common Core State Standards and the new Smarter Balanced Assessments, which are actually starting this week, that we will now have an opportunity to have a formative assessment in the 11th grade that will, I think, be much more diagnostic in terms of what students need to get college ready. So this is not an effort to have community colleges or community college faculty teach high school or do deep remediation, but it is how do we make better use of that senior year of high school, and I think this is what the Chancellor spoke to when he presented before the Assembly Budget Subcommittee about 2 weeks ago. With this particular legislation, we do have widespread support in both the K-12 community and the community college community, which we're very grateful for. Several districts have passed resolutions in support of this legislation, both on the K-12 side and the community college side. We do, however, have some concerns that have been expressed by the California Teachers Association and the California Federation of Teachers, and we're working through those. In a nutshell, it really is around how do we ensure that folks who are doing dual enrollment are complying with existing laws, particularly around reporting requirements, around compliance with collective bargaining agreements. So I think we can, we've had some very good conversations with both unions, and I'm hopeful that we can work through those issues, and assuming that we can come to some resolution, I look forward to hopefully having them support the bill. AB 288 will be heard in its first policy committee probably late March at the earliest, and likely in early April. So we're certainly moving toward those deadlines, trying to get everything in place so we can present in committee without any support. And I certainly do want to thank Assemblymember Chris Holden, who has been a champion of this issue now for 2 years running, and has been a tremendous author in terms of not only building support in his district, but also working with his caucus and members of the legislature to line up a number of co-authors. In fact, Assemblymember Kirsten Olson, who is the Assembly Republican leader, is a co-author of this measure. So that, as you know, is sort of our signature sponsored legislation for the year. So I will now just transition to some of the other bills that have been introduced. I won't go through them in detail. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them, but what I would like to do is just give you a sense of some of the overarching issues. And as you will see, there have been a number of bills, I want to say probably nearly a dozen, that have been introduced around campus safety and security and campus climate. I think this will be an issue that we will deal with quite a bit this year, both on the at the state level, but also at the national level. President Baum mentioned the meeting with Senator Boxer in Washington, D.C. on the same issue, so that's certainly not anything that is going to go away anytime soon. There are also several bills that have been introduced around supporting our veterans, particularly how do we provide in-state tuition for veterans, and there's legislation to make some technical cleanups around that, and we'll be certainly pursuing that. We've also seen several bills around financial aid, trying to provide greater access to Cal Grants, increasing the total number of Cal Grants, which I think is terribly important, but equally so is increasing the award of the Cal Grant, particularly the competitive Cal Grant B, which for our students is really important because that's what pays for their books, instructional materials, living expenses, which allows them to attend full-time, and we know when students go full-time that their success rates increase dramatically. Excuse me. So the last issue that I think is one that we will deal with again this year is around accreditation. We've already seen a few bills introduced on that issue, and we'll be, pardon me, we'll be analyzing those and coming back to you with more detailed information on the accreditation bills at future board meetings. Thank you.
Are there any questions on the state legislative bills before you move on to the federal legislation? Member Corr?
I had a question on AB 482. It's regarding concurrent enrollment and only relates to computer science. So in my district, there are a lot of, there's 2 schools that allow concurrent enrollment, and I was wondering how this, well, this bill only states computer science, so I was wondering why it's limited to that and how it differs from how this would affect students who are already in concurrent enrollment.
Right, so that bill is focused on computer science. There was legislation last year that was focused on computer science as well, and I think it's in response to what several folks have commented on previously about the need to get more students in STEM and how do we build partnerships between community colleges and high schools to build out those STEM pathways. So it's much narrower than what we're doing with AB 288.
Okay.
And AB 288 is focused on how do we build a little bit of additional flexibility to get more districts interested, and then in turn for getting that flexibility is the districts need to enter into a formal partnership agreement, which is not part of the bill you just mentioned, and the BOG-sponsored legislation would also require additional reporting and data gathering because we really, while we have some studies that point to successes, I think we need more data to help build the case that dual enrollment can be a successful strategy. And just to put it into perspective, you know, we serve about 2.2 million students. Generally speaking, dual enrollment students represent about 45 or 50,000 students. So it's not a lot, and it's a number that we think can grow. However, we don't want it to grow at the expense of serving traditional community college students, and we also want to ensure that both high school faculty and college faculty are not displaced as a result of doing dual enrollment. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about in 288 that are not necessarily part of these other bills on dual enrollment. And there are 3 or 4 others in addition to the one you mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
If you could switch gears and do a brief summary on federal legislation.
Absolutely, and since both Chancellor Harris and President Baum gave an update of what we did at the National Legislative Summit, I will just mention briefly the issues that we touched upon at the federal level were reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, increased funding and access to the Pell Grant, increased support for veterans, as well as a lot of conversation around the President's proposal around the first 2 years of community colleges being free of charge. While that wasn't necessarily terribly well received in the halls of Congress, it certainly generated a lot of conversation and is something that I think will continue to do so. And I would just like to underscore the support and partnership that we get from the foundation to do that trip. Without them, it would not be possible for us to engage at the federal level the way that we have, and I'm certainly appreciative to Keitha and her board and the foundation for making that possible. So with that, I will wrap up and take any other questions you might have.
Any questions about federal policy initiatives? We'll pursue. We'll look forward to hearing more once we meet after the May revise in May.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our board member reports. And so again, I'd like to turn to our newest member, Member Corr, to start with the board member reports.
Thank you. So over the last 2 months, I was able to attend a few events, 2 of which were the Student Senate meetings. something that they opened up was, so for our shared governances with the Chancellor's office, it's limited to the student members that are on the Senate. We enacted a policy that opens it up to non-senators. So there will be an application process that's also put forward, but now students that maybe not be able to commit to the student senates can also attend shared governance and provide input. And we're looking to improve the amount of input that is given, because it's really limited among the members that can contribute. They gave a resolutions procedure update. As you know, they have their own general assemblies that happen and resolutions that are received there, so that happened. In the March meeting, something notable, they took a stance for support for veterans services and categorical funding, and the online initiative for education as well. So that's things that they're looking forward to. In the past, they've been focusing on the strategic plan, but the only part that they've been really focusing on the $2 implementation for the local campuses. They're looking to expand that. And then I was also able to attend the March in March, which took place on March 2nd. In the past, they've had the march through Sacramento, but this year, since the president increased the amount of funding for community colleges, we've had a lot of initiatives take place. It's been a really productive year, so they decided against the march because there was no need for one. Instead, they had a rally, they had legislative boots, which gave legislative trainings. They had caucuses come out, they had the Institute for College and Success come out. They had a lot of different vendors come, and then they individual colleges had legislative visits scheduled with legislators. So they voiced their concerns, so they were able to get their voices out, which I thought was really important. So the March in March overall was really successful. And I was also able to attend the Faculty Association Conference, and as a student, that gave me a lot of insight on how faculty felt. A big issue was part-time faculty in terms of their pay and office hours. And as a student, I can relate to that because when a faculty doesn't have office hours, you can't go visit them. Of course, there's always other means of communication, but it's not always as effective as a full-time faculty where you can just walk into their office and talk about how you're doing. And so they're looking for initiatives that can maybe aid them in helping us. And so that was something they focused on. And also the students are going to have this spring General Assembly come up. It's going to be in Ontario. That's where students from all 113 colleges come and they propose resolutions. And so, yeah, that's coming up. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Corr, and welcome aboard. Member Hawkins?
No report.
Member Oblis?
Yeah, thank you. So like I mentioned, I did attend the Task Force on Workforce Development down in Silicon Valley. It was very informative, obviously, to see what took place there. I did meet up. I was in Los Angeles. I did a tour of UCLA for the first time, met up with some of my students at UCLA, but also took the time and met with their student advising organization on campus at UCLA, and that was set up through Vice Chancellor Stewart, who helped me get to the right people at UCLA, so that was nice. I also met up with Francisco Rodriguez, who is the Chancellor of Los Angeles Community Colleges. Spent some time with him, so that was nice to meet up with him. And finally, I'm scheduling a tour of the community colleges in the North State. So I'm meeting up with Assemblyman Dolly, and we're going to do a tour of at least 3 or 4 community colleges up there. So that's what I have planned.
Fantastic, thank you. Member Bolensky.
I want to start off by saying thanks to Keith and the Foundation for providing the funding so that I could attend the National Legislative Summit. I think that was really a key experience for me. And just say thank you because it really was a good opportunity. I also attended the Academic Senate's Accreditation Institute, and I want to thank Vice Chancellor Tenna for coming and doing a general session on the Institutional Effectiveness Program Initiative and the different components. I think that coming and presenting it to that many number of faculty members is really important. And I also attended the Academic Senate's Academic Academy. The focus was essentially on equality versus equity and the issue of equity. And again, Vice Chancellor Tenna, Vice Chancellor Nolden, Vice Chancellor Walker were there. Excellent to have them especially Vice Chancellor Walker and Vice Chancellor Knowlton doing a panel of answering questions from the field that people are really wanting to have answers to, and that was really well done, and I just thank them for being there. This coming Wednesday, I have the good fortune of in San Francisco to go to the Occupational Education Conference, and next Thursday on my own, I'll be going to the Articulation Officers Conference, where the 3 systems of our state get together once a year to work together and have a conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Belansky. Member Baca?
I just have 3 or 4 things. First of all, I want to thank Vice Chancellor Stewart and Vice Chancellor Feast and, of course, Keitha Mills for the support in attending the ACCT Legislative Conference, which very effective. It's very important for us to be there in Washington to interact with our legislators there and make sure that they're up to speed on what the community colleges in California are doing. And then I had a great opportunity to attend the task force yesterday. Very informative, and as we mentioned earlier, very good engagement by those that were in attendance that were quite diverse in terms of background. I also attended a women's vets conference that was hosted by Cal State Fullerton, San Diego State, and one of the keynotes was a student there who served, a young woman who'd served 9 years as a hospital corpsman, and attended community college in San Diego, now finishing up at San Diego State and looking to go on to medical school. So using some of that experience that she had in the military to boost her into a great profession. And I do plan to attend between now and the next meeting, the Academic Senate Plenary, which will be held up here in the northern part of the state. So I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to close by thanking Chancellor Harris for his leadership. We had 2 really great votes yesterday and today, and I think his leadership has just really provided us the vehicle to deal with a lot of issues, and some of them extremely complex in dealing with the accreditation issues, but also in leading the way as he has for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Member Sumner.
I'd like to thank the board also for all the support in getting through the Senate confirmation. It's nice to be able to take a deep breath, and Vincent, thank you for all your support, but the whole board has been wonderful with that. So now it's like we can press on and to be a part of this event today, and yesterday was huge. I had the opportunity to go actually to the LA Mayors for Homeless in LA to talk about the zero homeless for veterans especially, and it was very empowering because it's like today in this town hall meeting, how everybody's trying to pull together to get the homeless off the street, not only veterans, but all homeless. So that was a really empowering event that I went to. And I'm also, when we went to GCC with President Baum and Vice President Savano, it was being a Glendale College graduate. So I'm proud to say that I am a community college graduate. And I think we all should have a shirt that says, proud to be a community college graduate. That's going to be my logo now from now on. But when I walked through the school, I mean, giving the tour by Dr. Vire, but when I went up by myself, when I sort of walked you around, I hadn't been there in years, only really to the Veteran Center. And I don't want to be only known for only focusing on veterans. So that was like an eye-opening day, because when I walked around that whole campus, some buildings are the same that they were 30-something years ago. I mean, like the gym in another area. And then I started getting emotional because I'm like, I was really, really proud. I mean, my schooling, my nursing, my military, my whole career started with community college. So I'm proud of that. And the Veteran Center there has doubled, so that was huge. And actually, Glendale College and Pasadena City College in June, I believe it's June 22nd to the 26th, I'll get more information, it's called Not on My Watch. It's when there's a lot of suicides. So Suicide Bridge, which is in Pasadena, between Pasadena, they're going to actually have veterans and healthcare providers, people to walk it 24 hours a day as a resource for more the community outreach, which will be working with the Tri-City Coalition that I'm on. And I've been asked to go speak at Citrus College to the veterans and the alumni and some of the local communities about empowerment and some leadership for a luncheon in April. So I'm really honored to be there. And it's just amazing, the college campuses, and I hope we get a chance to go to at least one or two between now and the next meeting. And I'd like to go to Compton because I was just so impressed with their presentation yesterday that I would love to have that set up.
Member Van Loon?
Yeah, thank you. So I've attended a number of events and gathered a number of insights actually over the last 2 months. First, I attended the February SSCCC meeting, welcomed Vice Chancellor Nolden for her first meeting there, and I look forward to continuing to work with her as well as the Student Senate. I attended the March in March, which was fairly recently. A lot of the conversation was surrounding affordability beyond just tuition, which is a huge problem for a number of our students in regard to book costs and things of that sort. So really looking to advocate for a Cal Grant focus in our legislative session. The FAC conference I attended, I want to thank them for integrating a number of students into the conversations, and also thank, again, Vice Chancellor Nolden for speaking on a panel there about the future of student services as it pertained to both faculty and students. There were a number of student questions during that, and she was able to enlighten, again, a number of our students there. As it pertains to workforce development, I attended a college conversation a little bit briefly, unfortunately, at my college. It was during our accreditation visit, and obviously I have classes, so I was only able to attend that college conversation for a bit of time, but I was able to attend yesterday's task force meeting, not task force meeting, but the regional conversation in Sacramento as well. And as I stated earlier, it's nice to see that there is some cohesion between all regions, or the two that I was a part of. It's, again, encouraging to see everyone's barriers are getting consolidated at the statewide level, so we can take that into consideration. Last week, I was rather involved in an accreditation visit for the first time. Extremely insightful. I had always been curious as to how those worked and the dynamics of it all. And it was great to get involved, and just seeing the positive outlook and approach to everything by the peers who were a part of the visiting team was great. There's a very constructive approach to everything, even if we got docked on certain things. It was a constructive approach, and they gave us a number of pointers, but it was an encouraging visit, to say the least, and I wish the best of luck to Clovis Community College Center as they go forward with the developments with accreditation and the ultimate decision in July. So one other thing is there's been a lot of conversation recently in the scientific world about water conservation in California. I know I shared an article with our president here about NASA's recent study. There's approximately a year left of drinkable water in California, and our students around the state, and particularly in my region, Region 5, have been quite concerned about this, and on the regional level are encouraging all of our colleges to be engaged in sustainable practices and spread that beyond. But personally, I would love to see our chancellors, not only our chancellor's office, but our board as well, taking up initiatives not only to save water on our campuses. I mean, we do have a large impact because we're such a huge system. So spreading sustainable practice is very, very important, not only with water, but beyond. And I know we do a number of things relevant to that, but I would personally like to see that increase given the urgency by a number of studies, but that NASA study in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with your test tonight. As an exam this evening, of all things. Member Epstein.
Well, Colin's a tough act to follow, but I don't have much to report other than to thank Vince and team for helping me to survive the confirmation process, and I look forward to continuing to serve.
Thank you, Member Epstein. Vice President Estolano.
Yeah, I also want to thank Vince and the team for getting us through the confirmation process. It's you dedicated an enormous amount of time and hand-holding for all of us, and I really appreciate it. It was just a really tremendous effort. A few other items. I was able to attend a biotech summit in Los Angeles. Actually, it was hosted by University of Southern California, but the entire workforce panel practically that was carried out was basically staffed by community college folks. So we had Chancellor Francisco Rodriguez, who's the head of the LA Community College District. We had President of LA Trade Tech, Larry Frank, and Marvin Martinez, who's president of East Los Angeles College. And they were really who USC brought in to talk about the pathways for local folks wanting to get into the bioscience industry. So it was interesting. it was USC's effort to show their community cred, and who did they turn to? They turned to the community colleges. I also attended the Strong Workforce Task Force meeting in Los Angeles. We've already talked about that. And then lastly, having a chance to hear Chancellor Harris do his presentation in front of the assemblage at Glendale College was really inspiring. He was excellent. I even liked your jokes, Mr. Harris. No, but it was great, and I think it was wonderful to see the faculty respond to the chancellor, and to the trustees were there as well. I very much enjoyed the tour of Glendale College, particularly the chance to meet students who were involved in some chemistry classes and some really amazing hands-on coursework, applied work in chemistry and I think biology. Yeah, they did a wonderful job. And then we also got a chance to see the 3D printing and the advanced manufacturing area in Glendale College. Very impressive facilities. So just wanted to thank the Chancellor for inviting me to tag along. I really very much enjoyed it. That's all I have.
Did you say the Chancellor did it as a rap?
He did. He rapped.
He did a little rap.
He had it going on.
Can
Yeah.
we repeat the rap now?
He's got some good moves. Okay, well, thank you very much. It shows how engaged and committed this Board of Governors is to the entire system. We'll move to our public forum on our agenda. And do we have any members of the public who wish to address the board?
We have two speakers, Keith Kimber and David Morse.
Thank you very much. I have 3 minutes.
Yep. Okay, and we have 3 minutes each.
Okay. Peers, scholars, Californians. My name is Keith Kimber. I'm here today as a student of Bow City College of San Francisco, and also I'm a Harvard University Extension School student. Many people don't know this. I'm an exceptional student. I wanted to mention a quote by Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He said, "In looking for people to hire, you look for 3 qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And if they don't have the first, the other 2 will kill you." Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official, save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. It is patriotic to support him insofar as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the exact extent that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails in his duty to stand by the country. In either event, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth, whether about the president or anybody else." Mr. Harris's biography on this California Community College's Chancellor's Office states, Harris did his postdoctoral study at Harvard University Institute of Educational Management. There's a problem with that. The Harvard Graduate School of Educational IEM program is a continuing professional education program, not a postdoctoral appointment or fellowship. The IEM program there is a 2-week program that basically gives all participants a certificate of participation. There's no research network necessary. The Harvard University Faculty of Arts and Sciences, which actually the extension school that I'm part of falls under, is specific about the definition of a postdoc. And that requires somebody to actually conduct and publish research. A couple of nights ago, I actually searched Harvard's online library, hallis.edu. Anybody that's been to Harvard is aware of this and has access to it. I searched to see if Mr. Harris had any published research or anything there. And unfortunately, the results came back negative. And I know if you ever do university work and you do research, they will publish it on their library because they're usually proud of the work of their people. I'm basically asking Mr. Harris, I'm sorry, but you should resign. And if you will not resign, I request that the members of the Board of Governors that you look into this and investigate this more, because this is serious. This is a deliberate misrepresentation, and lying about academic achievement or credentials is the greatest sin in academia and also in the business world. When somebody commits something like this, normally you get fired right away when your employer discovers it. This is, I wish I didn't have to. I'm trying to be very polite,
10
especially
seconds left.
considering the people from my other school, and I thank you for listening to me, but this is very serious, and I will be emailing the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at Harvard University to let them know about this as well.
Your time
Thank
is
you.
elapsed. Okay, David Morris.
President Baum, board members, Chancellor Harris. Just want to give you a really brief update, and I will keep it brief, on a couple of the Senate's activities. First, I did not come up during the presentation on the HBCU agreement, but I do want to commend the Chancellor, the Chancellor's office, and everyone involved, and echo Chancellor Gornick's comments about how important and fantastic that agreement is. Yesterday, I put out for all of you the most recent copy of our Senate rostrum, so hope you'll have a chance again to look at that. As Member Belinsky mentioned, we had our Accreditation Institute a few weeks ago. Roughly about 175 faculty and administrators from around the state, and again, we thank the Chancellor's office for their participation there. A lot of energy, completely full, a little larger than usual, which shows the interest in that particular topic. And then, again, as Member Belinsky also mentioned, last weekend we had our academic academy focused on equity and student success. That was originally planned to be an institute of about 120 to 150 people. We ended up with over 350 attendees there. It just exploded and went fabulously. And again, want to thank Chancellors Walker, Nolden, and Tenna for coming and participating with us. It was really a terrific event that we were very excited about. Our plenary session is, our Academic Senate plenary session for spring will be April 9th to 11th. It's at the San Francisco Westin. And we have, for one thing, a panel scheduled on the Workforce Task Force Initiative. We also, our speaker on Friday is Tyrone Howard from UCLA. I will be speaking on equity. He's a fabulous speaker that spoke at the FAC conference, and when we heard him, I knew we needed him too, because he was absolutely terrific. So we would invite any of you to join us. Member Baca, already said that he will be there. Member Belinsky pretty much always is. But we would love to have any of you choose to join us at the plenary session. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public forum. There is no new business. We are going to adjourn and move into a closed session. We will be not making a report out of the closed session, but we will be undertaking, as per code, a conference with legal counsel on existing litigation under Government Code Section 11126E1. And so with that,
the fourth floor conference room.
And we will be moving up to the fourth floor conference room. I don't think there's anything else, Chancellor. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.